So, again, part two. So let's have a people.
It's about time to start. Our fearless leader, Mike Miller, is on vacation. So he asked me to step in and be chair of the meeting tonight. And he usually brings a nice big flag that we hang over there. So I'd like everyone to stand and stand up, lead us in prayer, and we'll say the pledge of allegiance. Thank you, Dan.
Our Father, we thank you today for giving us a chance to gather together here, to bring our concerns and our feelings together, to be able to learn from these candidates who are trying to represent us, and to be able to share the values and blessings of this nation. We thank you for all the blessings you give us each day. Help us never be tired of appreciating. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. If you're a military veteran who remains standing, thank you for your service. We lost a good friend, Christian Bowes, who was a lifelong patriot, strong conservative. At the age of 83, she created her journey this side, crossed over. And so I'd like to just have a moment of silence, reflection, and memory of Christian Bowes. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm looking for somebody here. So we have 4 speakers tonight. And our first one is Sheriff John Beeman, who is running for re-election. Sheriff, give us your talk, please. Thank you, John. I'd like to, first of all, thanks for the invite. I've said this before at a previous meeting, I really appreciate this group for going back to my first campaign. This is the first group I got to speak to downtown, and things all right in February that year. The kickoff campaign meets at this event and comes down and meet with the owners and the so always appreciate my speak. But anyway, I have a question the 4 years guys, who shows there? I've got Zoom coming up. Get this year. Years ago, up here, got told everybody out front and outside. And here I am 4 years later, and I still feel that I'm running from the outside as far as the other thing that goes along behind the scenes here. But I told you guys, just you remember when I was running at that time, we're going to bring something different to the sheriff's department. And after 30 years ago, chief of police, various sheriffs across the state of Indiana, I picked up a few things that I thought, well, if I was ever in that position, I think I might make a difference as the sheriff. And my goal was the goal of any sheriff, wanted me to make the department just a little better than it was when you got there. And my goal was, to move the departments away from the old boy system, the cult personality system that is prevalent, for so a lot of departments across the state. I think what you find, what I found, when you have that, is those are the departments that end up usually getting in some sort of controversy, some sort of scandal, when it's all revolves around the sheriff. So, like even just the little things like in our department, the press releases all say Madison County Sheriff's Department. They don't say Sheriff John Beeman. So that's just a small little thing it's the institution that carries on, not the sheriff. But, in the last 4 years, I gotta say, we've done, to say that I've had an easy way to go with our councils that I've had, our commissioners, but in the end, we all come together to work things through. And we've got a pretty impressive list of accomplishments that we've done. I'll go through them just a little bit. Some of them are obvious of what they were about, and some of the others I'll get into them just to delve into why we went there. One of the first things we did when I took off, as a matter of fact, the first council meeting I had, and we had a council member in cars for our patrol officers. After another Cheneville, Elwood was the first department to do it. I thought, well, that's a good safety thing, because in a shooting like that, seconds can make a difference. So if he had a few more seconds of that bullet-resistant glass, it may have been a different outcome of that incident. So anything to give our officers an edge is why we went with the bullet-resistant glass, and every vehicle switch out now has that. So that's one of the big things for officer safety we have done. And of course, here recently, there's been a lot of talk of the merit officer getting a 21% raise. Because as the sheriff, we were signatory to that contract. And I'd have So we got the 21% for our merit people, but so that's now we got to fight to keep that going into next year. So and then of course that would be the negotiations will be starting soon for the next contract. Another thing I was really that I'm proud of is that the department's full, both the jail and the merit side. We got three young officers in the academy right now. And they will be graduating next month, so that will be our full complement of merit officers, and that allows us to have full coverage across the county. And that goes, so even with the 21% pay raise, which is still not the highest in the county, we'll have flexibility within our shifts for the folks who can take time off. We're not at minimums and things like that. One of the other things, the officers, we took a survey within the department on the merit side. It's small things that really count, I guess, for the work environment for the folks. And about uniform changes. We updated the uniform changes for merit officers. We have officers that choose the Class A, the classic brown uniform that you see as a sheriff's deputy. We also have the polo type thing that our detectives wear. But the patrol guys, supposedly they want a load-bearing vest to get the weight of the equipment off their hips and spread out a little further. And that's been a real success. And there again, it goes back to the work environment for the officers that makes the job go a little easier for them. Another thing we've expanded in the department is the K-9 program.
We've added some emotional support dogs, and we got a correctional canine just for drugs over the jail side. So, you know, those are a few things on officer safety and retention that we've done. And speaking of the jail side, you know, we worked, one of the first things we did was work to get the jail employees on a pay matrix, where they knew where their pay raises was going to be based on their seniority and the pay raise. It was 22%. And when I took office, it was $18 an hour. We were 10 officers down, and so we had a huge overtime cost. Once we got the new jail commander in place, we got the work environment right there in the jail, got the pay up to at least to meet what the DOC is paying. We got 3 facilities in this county. We at least had to meet that because we train people that go to DOC. But now, we've got a full complement of our staff over at the current jail. Now, that doesn't do us any good for the new jail because the new jail is bigger, we'll have more inmates. And what we're going to do there, just to touch briefly on it, is that part of our plan is to merge both for a standpoint of operational savings, because we know we've done a survey, we're about potentially 20 bodies short to operate the new facility based on the number of inmates in the house and the size of it. And of course, in these fiscal times, I don't know where we're going to come up with money with 20 additional bodies across to add the county's payroll. So what we come up with is in talks with the MCCC, our Community Corrections Advisory Board, is we want to merge the MCCC. Those who are not familiar with that's a kind of a spillover for jail. All 125 of them, I think, is our current count right now, are what would be in the jail if we had the space. So we're going to merge that facility, and we're going to take those 15 pay lines from that facility and move them into the jail. And that's where we're going to come up with 15 of the 20 positions we need. So it's not an additional to the taxpayers, it's already within our county payroll lines to man that facility. So another thing we did at the jail, and just come online in December, was we went to 12-hour shifts because there's a large payroll overtime expense on the jail overtime. So we've got with this 12-hour program, I think up to March, I think we're $19,000 ahead on the overtime expenditures to this point by utilizing the 12-hour work plan. Because the officers, they have every other weekend off. I mean, you got new officers that are getting weekends off now, which was never the case before. And one of the other things we had the first couple of years I was in office, we had a medical company that we're still fighting lawsuits with based on their coverage of our inmates and healthcare over there. We replaced that company, but we also increased our coverage from 18 hours to 24. Previously, the medical coverage would end at midnight, and they'd have to wait till 6 a.m. when the next medical goes. Now, and that's really cut down our liability exposure to the county for lawsuits for medical issues that which are fairly common in the jail. So, but the new jail, that's been the biggest project, biggest time consumer of my term, my first term. The first 2 years, it was probably weekly, at least once a week, hours upon hours of meetings, design meetings, detail meetings. Because you got to go over every detail of a facility. It's like 5 acres under roof, all told. So sometimes it's 2 to 3 times a week. Sometimes it's once, but it's always once a week anyway. We're meeting with one design facet or part of the jail that we got there. So every detail of that new facility has been gone over by myself, chief deputy, and the jail staff, the jail commander, assistant jail commander. We also pulled in the other parts that we were in the medical department. We brought in our medical people to talk about things. We brought Spire in because there's going to be such more programming available when we were out there about room configuration for mental health stuff. We had the kitchen staff come up, take a look at the plans, put their input in it. So everyone that works in the facility had an opportunity to contribute to the build out of this jail to try to make improvements where it makes a workflow for the employees. So, and then one of the big things we had, and I've been very vocal about, was the build out of the jail. We knew on day one, if we did not build out the other portion of the jail, we were going to be full beyond the capacity that the beds we were going to have, just based on the numbers we have now. And the numbers we have now are based on a modified bonding process that the courts and the prosecution use to minimize people going to jail. So the 440-ish prisoners that our daily average is going to exceed the beds that we would have. So there was some difficulty in moving forward in that, to say the least. But with the coalition that started with myself, the judiciary, Judge Sims was a major proponent, David Kane, Andrew Hanna, we all met. We started working towards a plan, which involved the CCC, because we had to have some cost savings to go when we go to the commissioners, talking to council, getting the Baird money report, if the LIC was going to be able to afford where we're at. Rick is, I'm sure he'll talk about the money that we have money now based on the projections, where it's not going to bump the loan or change the loan. But that was all things that we did behind the scenes that no one, publicly doesn't know about. But Judge Sims has done a couple of presentations to show our side and our plan, and the commissioners have accepted it, the council's accepted it, and so we're moving forward with the build out, which is going to, increase our bedding, not initially, but within a year, we'll be able to spread people out and have the proper size we need. So, but yeah, and then when we moved the MCCC, all those inmates there, which is the new facility, there's going to be a consolidation, a streamlined process of the criminal justice within the county, because we're going to plan is to move parole, probation, all to one facility at the old MCCC, where we'll get some room in the courthouse. We'll have offenders going there instead of the courthouse on a daily basis. That should help the environment of the courts. So, and another thing, the new jail, which we hear a lot about the programming. The programming is going to be night and day from what we have now, which is very little. We have the chaplains. We have, I think, 8 hours a week in our current medical contract to try to help the folks in the jail with mental health issues, addiction issues. But it's just, we only have one room that's available for programming. This new facility is going to change that. In fact, we've already gone forward with the courts to start utilizing opioid monies with the commissioners, to start hiring a jail, what we call a jail navigator and a social worker to start guiding this process of inmate intake and getting into the services they need while they're in our facility. Now, we can only do so much because the average stay at jail is only 22 days. But we do have some long-term people that stay, and they'll at least have services we can provide to them. And then post-incarceration, there will be plans to move forward with that, these services outside of the facility. So we're really excited about that because Judge Sims is right. We want to fundamentally change criminal justice within Madison County. For all these years, hooking them up, taking them to jail, get them released on bond, back out on the street, back through the jail again within a week, filling up the jail, or moving people out to other counties to house them. Jim Sims and the prosecutor's office, we want to try something different with this new programming, and we've got some work with the state. There's some programs through the Supreme Court that we're looking into. So we're really excited to see if that can make a difference. We can divert people from the criminal justice system into mental health as opposed to criminal justice. The prosecutors are on board if it, to where the charges would be removed, dropped, or how you want to say that, if they complete these programs. So we'll see how that works out. We're all excited to reduce the footprint of the repeat offenders and see if we can change the recidivism rate here in the county. The public safety side of things, what the public sees with my first 4 years. If you've been to the courthouse, we've implemented some things down there. We've increased the number of staff at the courthouse as far as security. When I got here, they weren't screening packages coming in, they weren't screening mail. In today's world, you just can't let that happen. So everything is screened now. I know some people get a little upset and they got to take the belt off coming into the magnetometer and things at the courthouse. So that's just the world we live in now. You have to screen that. We have more armed correctional GC units, as we call them, government center employees down there. Because believe it or not, we have everything. Those guys have the most arrests out of any officers because they take people in custody right there in court. They've given birth to children in the courthouse, have heart attacks. First thing they got to chase the homeless off every morning off the county parking lots and the courthouse square there so the employees and the public don't have to encounter those folks when they come through. So we really stepped up the GC personnel and updated security activities with those guys. During our first term, we've also assigned a sex offender investigator. This gentleman, we have an administrator in the office, and she maintains the list, does the updates, keeps them supplying there, but then Officer Jackson goes out on the street to our over 300 sex offenders in the county and make sure they're there. He's got an award the other day for the prosecutions he started to bring these sex offenders online, because that's pretty important. Everyone wants to make sure the sex offenders are where they're at. Well, we don't want them here to begin with, but we're stuck with them. And Will Jackson does an outstanding job of making sure that where they are in reporting, or otherwise the charges and they go back to jail. So that's been a big plus that's been added since I took office. Task forces in collaborations with our partners. Of course, everyone knows I come from the U.S. Marshal Service, and I ran task force operations for the state of Indiana for the Marshal Service. 25 different agencies across this whole state. So when I got here, like I said, we were short manpower. We had to wait until we got the manpower up. We had an officer assigned to what used to be called the County Drug Task Force. That's no longer, there's no such thing as the County Drug Task Force anymore. That's Anderson Police Department's got their own major crimes unit now, I think they call it. We pulled that officer back to patrol, and that allowed us to, with the full complement of officers, to then reassign a couple of people. We had a little competition within the officers that wanted to put in for to these two assignments. One of them is the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force that's housed at the Fishers Police Department. Since he's been down there, we've had several prosecutions, very notable prosecutions of sex offenders here in the county. We ran 2 stings for sex offenders. We have an undercover officer posing as a guy with a 13-year-old girl, whatever the case may be, at a truck stop. We even had a house here in the city. as a bait house and several arrests out of those. So very successful. Because I found out when the lieutenant that runs the task force down there, Madison County is like the third highest referrals, because all these major social media sites, Facebook, Google, any of those social media outlets, they got algorithms that search for what are setting off little flags for child pornography, images, language, code words. And if they start amassing certain ones, they flag it, and they send that list to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And then they send it back to ICACS or child porn task forces and say, hey, we have a suspicious email address in Elwood, Indiana. Elwood being very high on that list within the county for sex offenders and child pornography. So we had nobody down there. Really wanted to get someone there, and finally when we got the manpower caught up, bringing the other body off the old task force, that allowed us to free up these individuals to take one to the ICAC, and of course, one near to me, the Marshal Service Task Force. Now, we got over 1,000 felony warrants that are active and open in this county right now. And patrol can only do so much because they are responsible for calls. So we got an officer that's assigned to that task force, and then he works here in the county, but he also has the resources out of the Marshal's Task Force out of Minneapolis. So he's working, because what you find is the people that are these felony warrants, they are not good people. They don't work. They are not contributing to society. They're out committing more crimes and victimizing more people. So the sooner we can get them off the street, that's less crime being inflicted on people. So that's what was important to me, to get somebody down here for that. In partnership with the prosecutor's office, they were approached by Social Security Administration for Social Security fraud. They were going to hire 2 investigators, but the investigators had to be deputized by the Sheriff's Department to have the law enforcement powers to then be deputized by the Social Security Administration to do the Marshal Service. So Andrew and I met and talked about it, and we agreed to deputize those 2 people being selected. So whatever collaboration we can do to make things work better, we look for it and went down that road. I think Andrew said the other day, they recovered $4 million in fraudulent claims with these investigators. So very successful program. And our fleet, which whenever time I go to the council, they want to know why. We got approximately 80 cars in the Sheriff's Department. And it's a big fleet to take care of. And, we do get taxpayer money for that out of the general fund to take care of it. But we also look at other areas in the commissary and commissary commission from our vendors to pay for that. So to date, I think we bought 5 cars to this point out of the commissary that did not come out of the general fund in 4 years. So we do what we can, and once we get to the new jail and see what we have to buy there as far as equipment, update things, then we'll probably expand that out to more vehicles. But we are holding some money back and banking some money. Like I said, there is a limited amount of money. Even in a $100 million project, there's still got to be things that we have to pay for ourselves if we want them. So we're looking at that, but we will certainly, when we need it, we'll spend it out of the commissary. We also increased the number of gun liaisons. We got officers that have been trained specifically to handle firearms that are seized by our patrol officers in a stop, arrest. Then that way they can more easily file charges with the prosecutor's office to enhance the gun crimes in the county. We added a school resource officer to East Elementary. There's only 2 schools in the county proper. One is actually Anderson School, the other one's East Elementary. So we do have a special deputy down at the, now it's not costing the taxpayers, it's the school's paying for him, but he is a special deputy to the sheriff's department. So, one thing we've done, most people have never heard of it, Operation Lifesaver. That is a program for special needs people. They wear a bracelet or a necklace, a pendant, or we have one young person that chews through the strapping that they have. One of the parents agree to it, or the guardians, because they'll take off in the middle of the night, winter, storms, and then we have the equipment. We expanded that with the fire department to have more available equipment to locate these individuals when they've left where they're supposed to be. So I think that's a pretty good group of accomplishments in 3 years, a little more than 3 years. I finish my first term out here with what we've accomplished. Now, a lot of it's not fanfare. Most people don't hear about it, but pretty proud of the accomplishments we had. So, with that, I know we've got several speakers here. I guess we're doing questions now, if you have them, as opposed to at the end. Yes, sir.
What do these sex offenders with child pornography and all that, how do they fund themselves? So they're not looking in the home, are they stealing?
Well, they trade child porn. There's individuals out there in the dark web that will pay for child porn. But most sex offenders, the ones we snag up in these things, have jobs.
So they do.
Oh, yeah.
Very weird.
They come from all walks of life, and they get snagged up in these sting operations.
And what are they gonna do with the old jail, you know?
That I don't know. That might be a question for Rick as a commissioner. Between him and the city, they'll have to figure out what they're gonna do with that. So.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I know you've had prior experience with, in law enforcement, so how do you think that has affected your performance on the job? Do you think that a sheriff should have prior experience?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. The answer is yes is the short answer. There's no way without being in law enforcement to have some idea of what you're asking your officers to go through and do, and to not have that experience. Because the sheriff, technically, you're right, is an administrator of a corporation. There's 137 employees in the sheriff's department in all facets of the county, but you can't just be an administrator. You got to know a little bit about what they do out there. So that answers your question, I hope. Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
In this recent session, the General Assembly had made a decision to extend the approval for needle exchange programs. And I wanted to know what kind of observations you've had over 3 years heading the department out. What are areas where you think the needle exchange program is helpful, and what kind of enduring challenges do you think there are for this community being in place for one of those programs is similar?
Well, I think it goes to a bigger problem from the sheriff's department officer standpoint. They always got, we got all kinds of people that get charged with possession of a syringe. I don't know what the percentage is, but it seems like everyone gets arrested gets charged with possession of a syringe or something.
High rate.
But I think it goes to a bigger picture of socioeconomic question about why they're addicts to begin with, why are they here doing exchange programs. I don't know what the numbers are of health benefits. Are we seeing a reduction in hepatitis C cases versus the ones prior to the needle exchange program? But they all have health issues when they get to the jail, or they start declaring them once they get to the jail. As far as the needle exchange program, from the standpoint of the jail, sheriff's department, it hasn't had an impact because they're still coming in with syringes and catching charged for it. You got heroin or whatever is in the syringe and getting charged. So. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Just one. If the county council decided to say, hey, there's some extra money, would you like to increase your workforce on the road?
Yes, but if it's a choice between a pay raise or more deputies, I'll take a pay raise. But if we can get more people, this has been a discussion ongoing with the merit body about 12-hour shifts. If we have more people, then we can make that 12-hour shift work to where they get half a year off, just like the jail size now is going to work half the year with the way the program works out with 12-hour shifts. And I think in today's world, older merit officers don't want to change it because that's how we grew up. That's the progress we had to do. It took 15 years before I got a weekend off. But in today's world, you just can't argue that because young officers, it's no longer a calling, I don't think, so much of the people I've interviewed for the job. It's just a job to them. I mean, I didn't know I didn't have a plan B when I got into law enforcement. It's what I was going to do. That's not the case anymore. Take home cars. You've got to allow them more than just your home county. Henry County statewide, that's just next door. I know it's a higher cost, but it's more visibility for a sheriff's department, and they still have to abide by the same policies. If the car broke down, they still have to stop and render aid. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm an industrial engineer, so I have some expertise in fatigue and stuff like that. 12 hours is a long shift.
Yeah.
We've had, in the industry, we've gone 10 hours, and even that is much after 9 hours, you start seeing a lot of fatigue and mistakes being made in people. What's your thoughts on these 12-hour shifts with regard?
Well, there again, 10 hours has been talked about too. That even takes more people to get the coverage on a 24-hour operation.
Yeah,
But what the studies are showing though, it's beyond the 90% percentile. 90% of the departments now are on 12-hour shifts. The 8-hour shift people are way below the minority of departments that are still doing 8 hours.
So you're saying that the fatigue is not an
Well,
issue?
I think fatigue's a real thing, but that's where we get, we do little things like we tinted the windows on the cars because they're in the car all the time. And then, it's air conditioning and it helps with that. We change the uniform to make it more comfortable, whatever it takes to try, like I said, that work environment to improve it.
I see cars sitting along, just sitting there, and I wonder a lot of times whether they're not taking naps. With these 12-hour long shifts.
Well, like I said, it's just been successful to what I've seen in the reports we're talking with other chiefs and sheriffs, that's where they're all going. Yes, sir?
Okay, drone program, I've been watching Hamilton County, some of the other larger counties. Is there anything going on with Madison County or anything you'd like to address?
Well, we do have drones. We've increased our drone operators. We've had it's really used for the accident investigation is by far the biggest user of the drones. It's changed it's like the taser. It changed the accident reconstruction world overnight by using drones. Missing kids, things like that, drones. And, we look to expand to buy some more drones again in the future as well. There again through, the commissary as opposed to general funds because they're pretty expensive that law enforcement uses.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Before our second speaker comes, I want Kelly Hewer to come and talk to you for a moment. Kelly is the chairwoman of the Madison County GOP, and she needs poll workers for this primary that's coming up.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Say your piece.
I won't take too long. So this lovely flyer, you should have all received that in the mail, courtesy of our wonderful Madison County Clerk, Linda Smith. So it has updates and everything on the radio location. But yes, we need poll workers. And so if you feel inclined to do so, you do get paid. We do feed you and things like that. It is a long day, so, but, it really is a lot of fun. I did it in high school and caught the bug and I loved it. So, what you can do is, again, if you're interested, we have various locations and we have inspector spots, judge and clerk for these, and these are for primary election days, so May 5th, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And if you're interested, you can get a hold of me, you can get a hold of Rick, you can message our Republican Party email, things like that. But we'd love to have you. Again, we've got lots of spots to fill, and if you do have a spot, we could put you on an alternate list because things happen. We need people, if the last minute something's going on or whatever, but we'd love to have you. So if you would please consider, doing a civic duty and being a poll worker, we'd love to have you. So,
Okay,
all right?
that's the end of the commercial. Our second speaker is the Madison County Clerk, Linda Smith, and the lights came on. Okay, Linda.
I was getting a little nervous about how dark it was going to be. I was like, my words, I wrote these just in case I was going to have to magnify. Just a little bit about myself, for those of you who don't know, my name is Linda Smith, and I am your Madison County Clerk. And I am very excited to be here. I'm excited that I am going to run for a second term. It is a 2-term office, so that would be my final term as the Madison County Clerk, a job that I have really grown to love. It is a busy office, I have to tell you that. But before I get started with that, I appreciated, John, that you took a moment of silence to honor Christy Bose. And Christy was a friend of mine. And she is now with the Lord, and I believe that was on my heart. So those of you who are born again, we will see her again someday. So we're very excited to know that about her and her life. She was just a person who, for some reason, took a special interest in me. And we have had lunch together at times. We have prayed together during sad times, because you know she had, I believe, cancer. And so we had some tears, and we had some times that we laughed a lot because she was certainly a character. But she was part of a support system for me. She would call me, and when she couldn't drive any longer, she would call and she'd say, hey, I really want to meet with you. Can you pick me up and let's go to Christians? Because I went there a few times. But I think it's very important for us to acknowledge each other in our lives, and important for those of us who may be getting a little older in our lives on one of this. And to take a special interest in the younger people that we come across, and to try and be that mentor and a part of that support system, and talk to them, ask them questions about their work, especially in the government center. A lot of us have been there for a long time, and it's just important for us to remember that. So moving on, I make no bones about who I am, and that I am a believer, and I love Jesus, I love my family, and I love my church, and I love people. And so that is a part of who I am. And with every campaign that I've had, I have been the county reporter. I served 2 terms there. I was actually caucus in, so I served 10 years as a county reporter. And with every time that I ran for office, I have had a verse that the Lord has impressed upon my heart. So, and I'm not good with references, but I know that one was, I, the Lord, have called you to do right, and I will hold your hand and protect you. And I'm here to testify that is the truth. One is, be strong and courageous, and do not fear, for I, the Lord, will go with you whithersoever you go. Another one is, I have called you, O human, to do what is to establish justice, to love mercy,
and to walk humbly with God. And as I began to pray about what I was going to do in January, I knew, and of course in December, that I was going to be running for clerk, but I began to pray about it. Lord, what do you want me to do? What is my verse? And so I claimed it, and it's Isaiah 40:31. That those who hope in the Lord, some versions say those who wait on the Lord, some versions say those who trust in the Lord, will mount up with wings as eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. So I'm here to tell you, I'm running. Okay? So for people who don't know a lot about the clerk's office, I did want to read through, and I'll try to make it quick so it's not so hard on your ears. But county clerks are often recognized for their role in elections. However, county clerks serve a critical role in the Indiana court system, and one that is essential to the daily administration of justice at the local level. The duties of the clerk are vast and multifaceted. As technology continues to advance, the county clerk's role becomes more complex. Clerks are constantly adapting and balancing efficiency with their legal responsibilities. Clerks are the official custodians of court records. They collect and process all new filings in civil, criminal, juvenile, probate, and small claims cases, to name some. From the moment a case is filed in the clerk's office, the clerk is responsible for maintaining the court docket, issuing summons, updating case progress, and ensuring records are properly indexed and archived. These records are part of the legal backbone to any court proceeding and are handled efficiently by clerks to ensure due process. In addition to managing case filings and records for the court, clerks are also responsible for handling court-related financial transactions. They are tasked with collecting court costs, fines, fees, and restitution. Clerks manage the collection and distribution of child support payments in cooperation with the Indiana Department of Child Services, using systems like Insight and the Indiana Support Enforcement Tracking Program. This aspect of the job requires accuracy and regular reconciliation in order to comply with the state auditing requirements. As technology continues to advance, the county clerk's role has become more complicated. Offices manage e-filing platforms such as Odyssey to ensure compliance with privacy and redaction rules while providing public access to online records and still safeguarding sensitive information. Clerks are constantly adapting and balancing efficiency with their legal responsibilities. Something that is often overlooked is the public-facing nature of the clerk's office. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the legal system, the clerk's office is the first stop when filing a new lawsuit, applying for a protective order, or seeking guidance or navigating court procedures. While clerks and their staff cannot provide legal advice, they serve a vital role in the connection between the public and the legal process. So we are an office of 20. After listening to the sheriff, we seem like we're just really small, but compared to most of the constitutional offices that are in the government center, we have a pretty big department. Just to give you some perspective of the magnitude of our workload, our new case filings average between 14,000 and 15,000 per year. We issue several thousands of marriage licenses every year. We process between 8,000 and 9,000 public records requests per year. We manage bank accounts, trust accounts, child support collections, court fees, fines, bonds, copy and document fee collections, process claims, audit accounts, and prepare county budgets, always with fiscal responsibility. Over the last 3 years, my administration has implemented several office renovations. I went into detail the last time I spoke, and I think I spoke for an hour and a half, so I decided to tone it down a little bit and bring it in. So we had several renovations, and if you ever come up to the government center, please stop by and see us, because we were happy to give tours so that people can see the new and improved Madison County Clerk's Office. So renovations, systemic workflow improvements, technology upgrades, and a quality-focused customer service work ethic. We have put into practice a high standard of efficient, best practices, and effective time management. And I'm not kidding, it's the truth. To say we're busy is the understatement of the year, but we're a team, we support each other, and we get the job done. We understand the level of responsibility of our work, and we continue to perform our duties with the utmost integrity and respect. And then, that was a lot, then there's the elections. Here we go. The county clerk is the public face of election administration. I understand the need for strong leadership and uncompromising principles, and that actions speak louder than words. I understand that we must always secure and safeguard elections. It's priority one for me and my team. And these are my areas of focus. Number one, flexible vote centers. We've gotten to use those over the last few elections. Is there anybody in here that think that vote centers are a good idea? I do. Can you raise your hand for me? Yes, they're awesome. All of our vote centers are compliant with ADA standards, and they offer convenience and flexibility with locations of operation spanning across the county, which means that you can go and vote, you're a registered voter, you can go and vote at any vote center in the county. So no longer do we have, and this is an example, nurses who work in Indianapolis and they are on election day, they're at work, and they may get off at 5 o'clock, and they live in Alexandria, for goodness sakes. That's a quick drive if they haven't been able to take some time off to go vote. That doesn't have to happen any longer. They can vote on the south side of town. So vote centers are awesome. Number two, establish election securities. Madison County follows election security guidelines provided by the United States Election Administration Commission, Assistance Commission. Our voting equipment is certified by the state of Indiana utilizing VSOC, the Voting System Technical Oversight Program at Fall State. Do we have any cardinal things in here? A few, very good, there we go, yay. And number three, ensure bipartisan consent. We have raised the bar on poll worker training. We ensure bipartisan consent and control with a strict standard of policy and procedures which are essential to our commitment for safe, fair, and secure elections. Please keep in mind, during an election, the clerk, along with the county election board, performs all administrative functions of the election process. We manage election logistics to ensure safe, fair, and transparent elections. During an election, we manage approximately 300 election workers. Can anybody testify on that one? I know Ms. Kelly can. We do poll worker training. We process all of the required paperwork, payroll claims, care and custody of voting equipment, and equipment testing, ballot preparation, oversight of precinct supplies, absentee voter boards, traveling boards. We establish election security protocols. Work with the Sheriff's Department on that, with my state group. We are in charge of vote tabulation, certification of candidates that are elected to office, in charge of record keeping, and so on and so forth. And this scratches the surface. It literally takes an army to get the job done. In conclusion, I want you to know that I am proud to be the Madison County Clerk. I know that it's a privilege to be elected as a government official. The responsibility of holding an elected office should never be taken lightly or without careful consideration from the elected officials themselves, but also from the political party that they represent, and certainly from the citizens that they serve. So today, I'm asking for your vote. My proven leadership, proven experience, and proven results are worthy of public trust. So whether you vote early or on primary election day, I'm asking you to vote for Linda Smith. Re-elect Linda Smith for clerk. Thank you.
I'll let him go.
Oh, what is the poll workers, what do they get paid?
The poll workers, if you are an ABS, which is the absentee voter board, you're paid by the hour.
Okay.
So absentee voter board are those that come in and are, as far as early voting at the courthouse, those that process the applications of absentees that work in our election division. Traveling board, the satellite offices, satellite locations, voting locations. So they make $15 an hour. Maybe some others are in there too, but those are basically the ones. And then on election day, trying to remember. So your satellites get paid for 6 days. They work Monday through Saturday, certain hours. So that, that's a lot of hours. So, it probably is, can be helpful to some people.
Sure.
And then besides it's fun,
Yeah.
Ms. Kelly talked about that, it really is. And then on election day, I know that inspectors make $275. Judges and clerks are at,
I think it's
$225. So. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
So, I don't really know how to word this, but I want to ask the question.
Okay.
Why have my election complaints not been adjudicated in 6 years?
All of your things have been gone over with attorneys, with election boards. You know that.
You never answered any
I'm
of
not
them.
done. Hang on. You know that you've received a letter from an election attorney. So.
You're supposed to respond in
those
90
are the
days.
answers
That's the
involved.
Indiana
I'm not
code.
gonna fight with you. This is not.
No, I know
the
you,
case.
well,
But-
this is the place to ask
Thank
questions. You want people's votes, but you
So-
don't watch over the elections properly. And I've proved it. And you won't let me have a hearing and you won't let an actual investigator come in and do it.
We have an election board. I am.
Quasi judiciary power, and you did not go to school for law. So,
Okay, that's why you have a letter from an attorney.
yeah, and he also agreed with me. Did you
So,
forget to
Linda,
read it?
we've started to talk about it a little bit, that in your role as the election board, you are tasked with adjudicating complaints. I wanted to ask, with the volume of work that you guys have as a 3-member board, have you given any thought to deploying the use of deputy election commissioners?
I know it's in the book, it's in the manual, and it's certainly something that I've thought about. We've had several different members that have joined the election board since I started. The Democrats have had how many? Several. And Republicans have had a few as well. Michelle is one of our Republican election board members. And we are so busy. We have one off year. And during that off year is when you really take a look at your equipment. You have to replace the batteries on those equipment. That takes funding. I was very successful in getting the Hobbit grant, so that was not a burden on the county general fund.
You still don't have a complaint process.
So that's what
Goes
you
against
do in
Indiana
an
code
off
and
year. We had to maybe weren't as priority years ago. And we made those things a priority, such as the campaign finance. I'm here to tell you that we have that in order. And if you are an elected official, you have to have an open committee. And anyone who makes a certain dollar amount has to have an open committee. So to even get that into place has taken a lot of time and work. And that's besides the renovations. I'm not making excuses, Adam. I'm telling you that we're swamped, and things like that, suggestions like that are, they're good ones. And typically on an off year, that would be the time to bring that up and maybe work through that. There are many things that other counties do according to law, but it is voted in, it is, prep work, it is getting the council's thumbs up with funding. There's just a lot of different aspects to go that goes into making a change such as that. But yes, would that be helpful? Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes, I'd just like to say something, because there's been a lot of Facebook back and forth. And Nicole, I think you misunderstand, I really do.
I know what the Indiana code says. I serve this nation. So please don't correct me right now, and you talk to her, not me.
Okay, I'm going to answer the question, you said why.
You can't answer the question. You weren't even there. You didn't even see the argument. You didn't even see him violate my due process. My constitutional right to due process has been violated by you and her. And she sat up there and talked about how great of a person she is. Well, my heart is hurt. It cost me over $100,000 in damages, and he cheated during the election. So don't respond to me if you don't want me to respond back.
Okay, I'm gonna just say one thing and then stop.
Yep.
You have every right, I was not there 4 years ago.
Right.
But what you did, you came in 22 to file your complaint.
No, I didn't, lady. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes, you did.
I filed in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. I have the records. I have the records. I'm showing them right here. You want to see them?
Okay, thank you. Maybe this better than happen in private. Thank you, Linda.
It won't happen in private.
New to the political scene in Madison County is Mike Garinger. He filed to be on the ballot, and then he was removed from the ballot. And I think you have a story to tell, and tell it, or do what you're going
to. I grew up in Madison County. I went to Hilton Heights High School, and I started my healthcare career washing dishes in a nursing home here in Anderson called Countryside Manor Healthcare Center. What a great experience it was. Then I went to Indiana University and studied nuclear medicine technology. After earning that degree, I became certified nationally, and I worked with patients for a long time. Nuclear medicine technology is a radiology field. Think of it in the same allied health field as physical therapists, respiratory therapists, pharmacists, nuclear medicine technologists. It's a rare group. There's 10,000 of us in the country. After 30 years of working in nuclear medicine technology, I earned a master's degree in health administration, where I applied those skills at places like Riley Children's Hospital, the VA Hospital, Methodist Hospital, Indiana University Medical Center. I was employed with St. Vincent Health before the Ascension Health takeover, and as an operations analyst. So from directly reporting to the chief operating officer, who reports directly to the CEO of 15 hospital network, I was involved in budgets, as well as build-outs for new facilities, as well as procedural items. Since I had a healthcare background, I did things like suit up and go into sterile supply before items go into surgery. They have to do sterile supply and those kind of things to evaluate ways to save money in order to give that benefit to the patients that need it. There's a large number of patients that get charity work, and so whenever you can save money and you can help those patients, it's important. The typical profit margin for a health system is 2%. Not only in healthcare, I also have experience in construction. I have experience in homes, for example. When I retired, I came back to home, and I was purchasing homes and doing my own home repairs and things along those lines. I've never contracted anyone to put a roof on my place. I've never contracted anyone to do any kind of framing or any kind of pole barns or any kind of driveways. I was taught from my grandfather, if you drive a vehicle, this is from World War II, because he used to drive the officers around. If you drive a vehicle, you need to be able to maintain it, right? So I want to fix my vehicles. I fix my own vehicles. But that's a little bit about me. Keep it short, because there's other speakers. And I promise I'll keep it shorter than your typical government meeting, okay? We'll go fast. What I have done is handed you some Post-it notes. If you don't have Post-it notes and a pen, please raise your hand. I would like very much for everybody to be involved and participate in an exercise. And what we're going to do is everybody take a few minutes to write down as many as you want, things that you would like to see improved in Madison County. It could be over a wide spectrum, okay? Does anybody have any questions with that on what I'm asking? Okay. On your Post-it notes, just write down, it could be, I want smoother roads. It could be, I want
Election integrity.
election integrity. It could be, I want to pay less taxes. Okay? Whatever you think that you would like to see improved. I've been out knocking on doors. I've been talking to people, gathering information where citizens want to go in the county. And so tonight is your night to let me know where you would like the county to go. I'm running for county commissioner in District 1. And if you do feel comfortable with me, I would appreciate your vote on that matter. I've got 4 signs that I'll take up on this board where I think the direction for the county is. And once everybody is finished writing what they'd like to see happen, we'll come up and we'll put them underneath those signs and line them up and see exactly where the majorities are. Anybody have any questions about it?
If you just, Mike, if you just explain that, you asked for the vote, but you're enrolled in a ballot here, you didn't be on the ballot, so what's the status of that? Are you going to be on a ballot?
Right now, until a judicial officer determines that I'm not a Republican candidate on the ballot, I'm a Republican candidate.
Say again?
And a note into that also is, I haven't hired any attorney. I write my own legal briefs. Okay. I think from what I've gathered so far, talking to people out in the public, their number one concern is taxes and spending. And their number 2 concern is roads and infrastructure. Their number 3 concern is safety and trust. And their number 4 concern is jobs and growth.
Yes.
Okay? Now, there could be something that you've written down that I have missed. Okay? Feel free to write it up here. Okay? But these are the categories. What we'll do together in this group as a community, we will come up and we'll start putting our Post-it notes where they belong. Let's go ahead and go with the first and second row. And if anybody would rather I put them up for them, I'm happy to.
What if you have one thing?
On one Post-it.
Yeah.
Let's try to get it each on one Post-it.
Okay.
Can you do that? Okay. I think you got a little time. Okay, thank you. Well, that goes under jobs and growth, right? Anybody? Okay, we're almost there. I will come through, I promise, I'll be sure. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yep. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna read the first one. The first one, under safety and trust, says, I think my wife's over here somewhere. Mike Garager should shave his beard off. I don't know, I like it.
I like your beard.
So obviously we have 6 in taxes and spending. We have 8 in roads and infrastructure. We have 7 in safety and trust, and this one surprised me, 3 in jobs and growth. So, as a commissioner, I would want to start focusing on these 3 things. This one, commissioners are directly responsible for spending. Okay? My role would be spending. It is not approving money to be spent. It is not, appropriations is for the county council. They give permission to spend money, right? Taxes, I think that there are some tax laws coming in that are gonna lower property taxes. Is that right, Rick?
I have my doubts about it, but I'll talk to you about that.
Okay, there's some more, there's
The
some more.
intent is yes, but I don't know that it's gonna do it.
Okay, great, so there's more, there's some hope there, right? Okay, roads and infrastructure, all over this says roads. Okay? And what I've gone out, I hear the same thing. And what I'm hearing is that there is possibly a type of topper that's put on the roads that is more of a binder than a topper. And everybody should be aware that it's actually kind of easy to see. I found a lady that has some samples that she was explaining this to me. She has core samples that have larger stones in the blacktop, and then there's topper samples that have small granular type stones, and those endure the stress and the weather better, okay? So understanding of that is required, and also understanding that there's few kilns that fire up the blacktop. So if there's potholes in the winter, it takes a lot of money, energy, oil, and heat to fire up those kilns. They like very much so to fire those kilns up in the summer, okay? So if a county says we need some pothole fix and they're gonna make something called a hot mix. And they're gonna throw that in there. A hot mix is not a proper fix, okay? And they don't have to agree to fire those kilns, right? So an opportunity exists for counties to get together, us and Hamilton and Delaware and Hancock, and say, hey, we're going to try and schedule these pothole fixes, and if they have enough load, well, then they'll fire the county, okay? Safety and trust, we're seeing things like election integrity, less government corruption, oh my goodness. Due process, honesty in local government. What I'm surprised that I don't see here under safety and trust is criminal protection, keeping criminals off the street. So that tells me, in this group, Sheriff Beeman is doing his job. That's, I would think under safety and trust that would be up there, okay? And then jobs and growth, jobs, economic development, and more jobs. Okay, now that we've talked about those, we will take this down, and I will ask you, and please feel free to speak out. This exercise is to try and tie it all together, okay? As a community, what are we deeply passionate about? Let that set in and think about it. And whenever anybody wants to, just shout it out.
Jobs. This community has lost a lot of good paying jobs.
And people.
So I'm hearing we're passionate about a community having a good work ethic and good opportunities. Is that what I'm hearing? Anybody else?
How about election integrity?
Election integrity.
I know that's in the works, but still.
Yes, absolutely important.
I think people are passionate about their kids and grandkids.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. They're children, right? You know why? Because the future isn't you. The future isn't me. It isn't her over there. The future is the children at your home. Okay? Now, I'm going to make a leap here and try to pull all this together. Somebody back here said about a good work environment and available jobs and the ability to support the family. This gentleman said, please, raising a family. You said election integrity and trust. I think that we can put those together into good Hoosier values. I think all those land in good Hoosier values. A safe neighborhood, a solid job, your children, you raise them, you have no concerns and no fears about your election. Okay? The next question, and this one is intended to be a far reach, okay? What can Madison County be the very best at in the nation?
Good schools.
Excellent.
I would agree with that.
Anybody else?
Growing their own medicine.
Growing your own medicine. Anybody else? I take that as farming.
It's what we
Okay. Farming and good schools and education. There's a lot of talented, educated people here that absolutely could be education. If somebody would come and decide they were going to start up a university, maybe on the Fall Creek, maybe on the White River, it'd be a beautiful university.
How about retirees also, good place for retired friendly community too?
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. A place to retire and not have a worry in the world.
We got good medical facilities and entertainment.
Okay, so we have three really good, okay? I can't be the one to say which one goes in this next circle, because they're both very good. Everybody will, you all have to try and come up to a consensus, or I can say. The question again was, what can Madison County be the very best at in the nation? Think about it with what we have here. I'm not trying to quiz or lecture or anything. She mentioned farming, she mentioned education, he mentioned retirement. In a way, farming. What can Madison County be the very best at in the nation? Farming. Realistically.
Hemp
There's a
farming.
lot of acreage, a lot of farms, good growth. The other things go right along.
Right.
There's plenty of retirees that would love to retire at a farm,
Right.
right? There's plenty of people that would love to have education from Purdue and bring it to their farm, right? Now, the last question, and then I'll open it up for other questions, okay? What is driving our economic engine? This county, what is driving our input, our engine? What makes the money? And it goes in this circle. I can give you some statistics if you want. The Federal Bureau of Economic Analysis says that the income in this county, number one, is job-produced personal income. Okay? That accounts for 50 to 55% of Madison County's total gross. Okay? So we'll just call it 50 to 55. Number two.
Social Security.
They call it transit income. And it's not meant to be anything degrading or anything. And I'm going to say it wrong. Okay, and I apologize. It is Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare benefits that are paid into the economy, as well as SNAP benefits and assistance and things like that. So we'll call it T income. And that accounts for 30 to 35% of Madison County's income. Okay? And the last one, number 3, Mr. Garner, rent and interest. So, what drives our personal income? Jobs. Okay? And in the reality, number 2 is our elders. Okay? The people that retire here. Okay? That number will decrease just because of population demographics with the size of the baby boomers. Okay? If this does not increase, or this does not increase, we're going to be in trouble. Okay? So what drives our economic engine? Jobs. It is jobs. Okay? It is jobs. The future, the children you talked about, cannot rely upon the senior citizens. Okay? They cannot. It is jobs. There are jobs out there. There are people that don't go and apply for jobs. There can be better jobs in here. Okay? What this exercise does is it says if I'm going to lead this county as one of 3 leaders, I'm going to focus right there. Anything that I have before me for spending, it's got to meet. Obviously, there's going to be some exceptions. Certain things have to happen, right? But as far as making the county I love a better place for us all to live, it needs to be thinking about farming, Hoosier values, and jobs. Okay? Thank you for hearing me. I appreciate you letting me speak, and thank you so much. I know your time and schedule is important. Now, I may take questions. There is a hot topic, and I'll just straight up say that I will not litigate in a public forum. It's not appropriate. It's a bad decision. I will not talk about personalities. I will not talk about debates. Okay? But I will take questions. Yes, sir.
So one of the things I'm passionate about right now is the fact that the county is expanding government and with a parks department. We never had a parks department in this county. I don't think we need a parks department. We have a state and city parks department. And they're spending lots of money. A lot of that money is gonna be taken away in maintaining those parks that could go for roads in the future. And I want to know what your stance is on getting rid of the parks department in Madison County.
That's a good question.
Of course it's a good question.
It's a great question.
I don't have a direct answer to the question, but I do have an answer. And it's based in Jeffersonian theory, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was all about doing what's right and responsible government, okay? He said the nature of things is for liberty to yield to government, okay? It's natural. It's not intentional. It's not an evil, wicked attempt to take our liberty away. Okay?
Yeah.
And it's also natural for people to have zeal, which means passion and energy. And when that zeal becomes rigid, when it is applied in a manner that protects those that are governing and not focused to protect the citizens that are being governed, then it's time to pay attention. It is time to realize that the laws and statutes and the need for your government and your parks needs to be aligned with the need for the citizens. I hope I answered your question.
I don't think so.
In your, I'll live on it. In your request about, your question about parks and money going to parks instead of going to roads, right? I think the money should go to the roads. Why? Because I saw it right up here. I didn't see one sticker about parks. And I pledged that I would carry that with me into an office.
Now you answered my question.
Next question.
One more question. We need to move on. One more question. Susan, what?
Well, two more questions, Susan and then
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed your name and what you're running for in the very beginning.
My name is Mike Garinger, and I'm running for county commissioner.
Which district?
Oh, Mike, was that your question?
It's District 1, but that District 1 defines where the candidate must live. Everybody in the county votes on it.
Okay.
Okay, Adam?
So my question is, my understanding, you kind of briefly glazed over at the beginning, removal from the ballot. So what is your current status in terms of this election? Are you on the ballot, not going to be on the ballot? When are you going to know?
I will give you a very procedural answer. And transparency, you can go to mycase.gov, type in my name, and see everything that is filed. But in this forum, I will say, I was challenged at an election board over an unknown entry in the voter history record. In 2016, it said Republican. In 2008, it said unknown, okay? In 2008, the voter history record by statute can say Republican, Democrat, or nonpartisan. Okay? And that was challenged. Two reasonable people interpret the statutes of that different. And we followed the process as it's intended. They made a determination I didn't agree with, and took it to the judiciary, which has the authority over the statute. And that is still proceeding and active. Until a judge decides I am not a Republican candidate, or the election happens first. I am a Republican candidate. Okay? I hope I answered it clearly.
Not exactly, but we can let that labor is.
Okay, all right.
Hey, Mike, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, Rick is on the county commission, but he's running for treasurer, right? That's Rick. Come up with Rick Gardner. Sure. Yeah. Okay, many of you know me, but if you don't, over the last 15 years, the Tea Party's been in existence here in Madison County. A lot of the old fellows have gone, and of course we miss Burrow and Danny, and don't see Gary, Mike McDonald. But anyway, over all these years, I've gotten to know a lot of you pretty well. There's several in this room that probably don't know. And because of that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. Married to my wife 44 years. Very means the world to us. 4 grandchildren. We had 9 grandchildren. And we have 1 child on the way. So he's due in May, hopefully on my mother's birthday. It'll be real close. But anyway, that's who I am in my personal life. A little bit about my background in county government. In 2010, I ran for county council and was successful in the Southern District, or District 4 at the time. I served there for a term and a half. I was 6 years in and ran for county auditor. But during that time, I promised that I would only vote for balanced budgets, which I'm happy I did that. I also, on the new appropriations during the year, that seemed to be a sticking point sometimes, but I only voted for those when it was an emergency situation, or there was a clear understanding that there was a need for those additional appropriations, because the budget is set by November 1st every year. And during that next year, you should operate within your budget unless there's things that arise that's outside the norm. One of the taxes and spending, you hear a lot about taxes, you hear about tax cuts. I said I had an opinion on what the state legislature done, where that's going to end up.
That's good. Property tax is a very complicated endeavor. If you ever look at your property tax bill, on page 2, there's an explanation to the taxpayer, which doesn't explain very well the situation, unfortunately. But I was just checking today, actually, a couple days ago, and then I'm following up again this today. And Madison County billed out in 2024. Now, this is all cities and towns. This is a total number of taxes, tax bills in a dollar amount, $150 million in 2024. Or I'm sorry, in 2025. That number in 2026 is going to be $156 million bill. So there's a $6 million increase in billing between 2025 and 2026. Then in 2027, there's going to be some changes in that PTRC credits going away. That's going to be bad for Madison County because I and my colleagues at Association of Counties have had this discussion many times in PTRC credit counties, which is where they take a portion of income tax and a rate applied, a portion of income tax, and it pays down people's property tax bills. You'll see a PTRC credit on your bill. It's where they take $12 million, throw it on the tax bills, and you get a credit. But when the PTRC credit goes away, there's going to be a change in tax law. You're going to get a credit up to $300 rather than, I didn't mean to sidetrack on this, but I need to explain that. Rather than your PTRC credit, your PTRC credit, you're going to get a $300 deduction, but it's not going to offset the credits we're getting in Madison County because many counties do not have a PTRC credit. So therefore that goes away, but the lit number stays over here where it's at. So if you were putting $12 million to property tax bills, and if this is a wash over here, that $12 million is still sitting in here. So I'm not convinced yet that there's going to be a savings. That might just be my opinion, but I think it's a pretty good one. So I will say, I did vote on 3 occasions to eliminate a tax when I was on the county council, to reduce a tax when I was on the county council, and voted against the implementation of the tax. A question came up, needle exchange. I think that was Adam's question, wasn't it? Okay. I personally have voted against the needle exchange program. I voted multiple times when I was on the council against needle exchange. It puts people in danger. It puts officers in danger. It puts my kids or grandkids in danger. When I walk out to my mailbox on 38th Street in Anderson and I almost step on a needle, somebody threw out their window of the car, that's a problem.
Right.
It's a big problem. I wouldn't do that on the road we live on because it's too busy. But if I sent one of my grandkids out with the mail for me, hey, James, go out and grab the mail, and he steps on a needle that was thrown out a window that we gave to somebody to exchange so they could be safe, and then we put other people in danger. That doesn't work for me. That does not work for me. So on that pretty much covers the council. I did want to address your question about the old jail. That's not been decided yet. We're working with Anderson like to have the jail free of charge and us tear it down. That doesn't work in my pocketbook. So, but we're not there yet.
Maybe condos?
Yeah, we have somebody right now that's trying to market that property. So I hope that helps with that. Back to after my 6 years on the council and the things I just explained to you, I was the chief financial officer for the county for 8 years, the county auditor. Does a variety of different duties. All your tax deductions, your veterans deductions, your homestead, all those things come through our office, transfers of property, tax sale issues, all the accounting in the county comes through that office. Payroll for 600 employees comes through that office. Payment of all bills through the county. Any bill that the county has comes through our office. So $300 million a year in and out comes through that office. We managed 200, the last year I was county auditor in 2024, we manage 253 or 56 different funds. You have the general fund, that's only one fund. And there's 252 more funds, from grants to maybe a police officer vest grant, which was always kind of small, but anyway, all varieties of every fund in the world, all the highway funds, every single fund we manage and have to balance those things. So things I worked on when I was county auditor, one was debt reduction. We took the debt in the county, we were paying off stuff early. I saw a situation where bonds are usually set up in January and July for payments. And I said, if we have the cash flow, why don't we pay the July payment in January too and save 6 months of interest on that, on what we would pay at mid-year to save some money. Our rainy day fund, worked with the council at the time, they were very good about working with me on this. The rainy day fund, the savings account, at that time was $36,000 is the only money that the county had set back, was $36,000 on a $45 million budget. Okay, we took that rainy day fund from $36,000, starting in 2020, in my fourth year, and we took that to $18 million. So we done that through interest from investments, working with the treasurer, terrific treasurer we have right now. He's done wonders. He's earned about $17 million in his 8-year term in interest through investments. So we took our rainy day fund from 36,000 to 18 million, which is now a revenue generator. That 18 million generates about $750,000 in revenue on the interest on that. So because we didn't spend that money, we sent it over here. We said, here's our normal recurring revenues, but we're taking this 18 million and invest it over here. Here's another 720,000. You can offset your costs. We done that. We fully funded the police pension fund. Over the years, the police pension fund, the mayor officer pension fund, was underfunded by about $7.75 million. So we paid that debt off through interest money, savings money, where we scratched and scraped. We paid off $7.75 million. That's dollar unfunded liability on the police pension fund. That was the biggest appropriation I've ever seen or ever asked for. Was I need $5 million from the I believe it was $5 million from the public safety fund and $3 million from the general fund, and I want to pay off this $7.75 million pension plan. So when we done that and fully funded that, we saved $1.1 million a year in interest. So we took cash that we had. This is up and above the 18 million we got sitting over here now. But we took cash that we had and fully funded that pension plan, saving the county $1.1 million a year. We done all those things for long-term financial stability. As far as the audits go, we put controls in place. We work with the state and the audit team in our office to perfect our audit of claims, audit of payments, audit of all of our controls, so that we make good decisions and do good things and not make errors or mistakes. Everybody's a human being. Those are going to happen, but we limited those by putting these controls in place that double and triple checking any payments that were going out the door. On the last year, last 2 years actually, but we had a special auditor doing us because we ended up being a gap reporting county, which takes additional reporting. This was a statement from the auditor, which I was very proud of my office. It wasn't me, it was all of us working together as a team. We had a whole team of people back in the back of that office that dealt with the accounting. And here was a statement that he made to me. He said, we have no findings, no material findings. He said, Rick, this just doesn't happen. That's from the auditor. very, very proud of that, but proud of the people I had working under me that helped cause this to happen, because we got together as a team and made that happen. Very important. We streamlined the office for efficiency. Our mapping department, we had to map parcels of land too. That's part of the office. And our bill paying or claims, payment of claims is what it's called with the county. We went to electronic claims payment on there. And I was searching around for electronic, somebody to help us with electronic payments and our claims calculations. And our vendor wasn't doing it at the time. They're in 60 counties, but they weren't doing electronic claims. So I researched other software companies, and it's like, well, yeah, we can do this, or give us so much money or whatever. And I went to my vendor and said, hey, we don't want to change vendors, but if we can't come up with electronic claims within our software we have right now, we may leave. We were the pilot county for electronic claims processing because the vendors didn't want to lose us. I'll put it that way. So sometimes you have to put a little pressure on, is what I'm saying. So we've done that. Payments and disbursements. Just something really small that we done was every 2 weeks we would go before the commissioners, ask for approval to pay the claims. They get the claims list. It goes from 3 people, or did go from 3 people in my office, and me signing off on them over to the commissioners to review, and then a county commissioners meeting to approve to pay those claims. But they approved those claims on Tuesday morning, right? So interest rates at the time was 5%, and I thought, you know what if, this may sound silly, but it amounts to about $26,000 a year. What if we don't mail those till Friday? They were paper checks at the time, and still are. They're doing more electronic now as far as electronic payments. What if, let's not mail those till Friday instead of mailing them on Tuesday? They don't get there till the next Tuesday, and we gain 7 days interest on that money for bills that were due for 20, 30 days. So we were about every pay cycle, we were making about $1,000 in savings by saying, hey, until that leaves the bank, we're getting 5% on it. Let's wait. Mail them on Friday, we'll get them on Tuesday, and then we'll start again. So we've done that. Pretty excited about that. It's just one of those business decisions you make when you've been in business. You try to think about every little thing that might happen. I communicated with the council and the commissioners on projects. 8th Street Bridge, when I was county auditor. That was I can't even remember the number now, $17, $18 million bridge work. The county's portion out of our pocket was almost $4 million. Well, over a 3-year period, we paid for the inspections with, I think it was like $3.7 million, $3.75 million. But anyway, so we said, hey, council, why don't we just budget $1.25 million a year for 3 years and pay that, because the other option was to bond for it. At the time, I had one county, someone from the county said, why would I have bonded that, send it out 20 years. Now, this is fast forwarding to just maybe a year ago. I said, yeah, but we don't have any debt to take it. And that person smiled and said, yep, you're right. And we were done with that conversation. I enjoyed that. But the light turned on. It was all about, you didn't have interest now, okay? So I worked with Dan on investments over the last years. We invested some money in the highway fund last December, or December before the end of 24, before I left the auditor's office. I said, Dan, could we take some highway funds and invest it? And then the highway fund will get that, if we invest it separately, the highway fund will get that revenue. Well, we had a bridge, and we did. That was going to earn about $140,000 in a 12-month period, the amount we invested. So at the end of, early this year, we had a bridge, and it was a bridge that it was an 80-20 split with the feds. They paid for a portion. Our portion was $83,000. We earned $140,000 in interest. The bridge cost us nothing. It didn't cost the county taxpayers a penny. And that's the way we try to use, that kind of wit. The jail build out, I don't know if we landed on a solid number yet, but around 10, 11 or whatever, it kind of moves a little bit. But because we were handling our, interest investments from our bond proceeds, the $79.25 million that was borrowed to build the jail, that was immediately invested. I worked with Baker Tilly, had them do the investing. We earned about $4 million off of borrowed money, while it was waiting and sitting instead of just sitting in the bank or sitting with the trustee, we had it invested. So that money that we borrowed earned us about $4 million. But because of that, and paying things as we went as much as we could out of public safety lit and jail lit, and the current auditor is still doing the same things, which is doing a great job, we had about $15 million that we could use toward the build out of the new jail. So we're going to be able to build it out, and guess what? No debt because of it. Sheriff touched on it when we got. So that's the jail piece. And then in December of 2024, I went to a newly elected officials training program for my seat as a county commissioner. So even though I've already been 12 years in December, the newly elected officials conference, and I was went to a breakout session for the county treasurers because there was a session about investments. And during that session, the lady from the State Board of Accounts, Ricky Hofer, made mention that the county, I think it was Ricky, county commissioners are responsible for investing, which I knew that, but also where that interest income goes to. So when you earn interest in the bank, the commissioners also direct where that interest goes. Council doesn't get to say on that. I mean, the finance board does, which are the 3 county commissioners and the county treasurer. So so in January, in my first month as county commissioner, I said, commissioners, how about if we do this? And we set up a capital asset fund, work with the State Board of Council. Can we do this? I asked her before I left the conference that day. I went in the back room. I said, Stacy, did I hear that right? Yeah. So I worked with them, worked with the county attorney. Let's set up a capital asset improvement fund. And now that we've paid off a lot of debt, we got my pension plan paid off. We have $18 million in our savings account. Okay, now we need to take care of county assets. So let's now write an ordinance that says this money that's earned in interest now goes to this capital asset fund. So now, not only do we have those other things that I talked about, the big numbers, 18 million, almost 8 million, payoff of debt, all those things are done. And we were doing that with interest money along the way. But now what's our next thing? We got to take care of our assets. And I knew I was coming into the commissioner's office by that time, and I had some thoughts about what we might do with it. Well, there was a little battle for about 6 months, and different opinions between council and commissioners, and we're successful in the legal solution was county commissioners have the ability to invest money and say where the money goes. And there was a backup letter from the State Board of Accounts that says commissioners are correct. So that's where we're at. Now there's about $3 million in that capital asset fund. We've done a few things with that. Parking garage was in very, very bad repair. That's been worked on. Some of that could be used for some of this changing around with whatever's going to happen with the MCCC, work release and all that. There's funds available, even funds available, without going over here to the rainy day fund. Because don't forget that rainy day fund is a revenue generator. So, that's already on less, and that money didn't cost you a penny. So we set up that capital asset fund, $3 billion in interest today. And then in 2023, I was awarded the Outstanding Auditor of the Year from the county commissioners at their conference in 2023, based on these accomplishments. These accomplishments were turned in. I didn't even know it at the time. My chief deputy had turned that in. My wife shows up at the conference. I had no clue it was going to happen, and I was awarded that. And very, very good feeling. So that was out of 92 counties applying. I was able to do that. On the rainy day fund, when we started building that rainy day fund, in 2020, I stumbled over something with our budget rep from DLGF. She said, we need to get some money in the rainy day fund. I have $36,000 in there. We'll just redirect some of your local income tax. So we started, during the budget process, we directed $100,000 a month to go into the rainy day fund, because the county receives about $1 million a month. And then Todd Culp, the current auditor, came to me at the end of 2021. He said, Rick, what are you going to do this year with that? I said, make it $150,000 a month going into the savings account. So that was the seed money to get the rainy day fund going. Then I took supplemental account. The state holds back a portion to make sure they don't underestimate. And then after through their analysis, when it reaches a certain point, then they release that money. So when that money came, it wasn't budgeted. So I said, hey, council, could we take this supplemental lid and put it over the rainy day fund? So we were collecting eggs and putting them in the basket. That's all we were doing. Unused money, unappropriated money, unneeded money, and put it in the savings account where I thought it belonged, and got us to that point where we were at $18 million. I will tell you, over the last 12 years, I put in over 800 hours of classroom training through the different organizations within the state. Government Finance Officers Association, County Auditors Association, Association of Indiana Counties. I was the board chairman for the legislative committee for a year, AIC board member through NACO. I received my AIC Gold Master Payment for Continuing Education last year. So those are the accomplishments I've had where I've been. And then I touched on this, but as commissioner, we've working on the county assets, we can talk about. Appreciate the question from Mike about the road processes, because we're working on that. Just came back from road school this year. Didn't count that into that 800 hours. Went to road school this year. And some of the processes they're using, they're common, normal processes, but I can see where some of the applications could be better. So I'm going to work on that, and we've got a great staff, all department heads to work with it to make those just a little bit better than they are. We just successfully negotiated, can't talk much about this here today, but with a couple towns that were not paying into the dispatch center, and that has been settled short of having the paperwork, but the agreement is the county's going to be in good shape on that. And then I'm running for county treasurer. I'm finally got to that. The county treasurer is the chief investment officer. For 8 years as county auditor, I've been involved with the treasurer on investments through working together with me, the county council, the county commissioners, to try to finance projects and do it in-house and pay off debt with the interest from county finances after it's properly invested. So I look forward to that piece of being an investment officer of the county. The part you don't like hearing about from the county treasurer is the fact you're going to get a bill here and within a month. You're probably not going to like it. Not his fault though. Everything, state law is set, and counties follow state law to spit that bill out at the end. It goes to the county assessor for its assessment. That's after all their rules and regulations and everything the state hands down to them happens. And then it comes over to the county auditor's office to apply all deductions. And then the county treasurer gets blamed for sending you a bill. But that has nothing to do with the number on that bill, other than he's printing the bill, he's collecting your money. So anyway, and on the accounting for the county treasurer, the treasurer is basically the banking side of that. We accounted for all the funding every month. The county auditor and county treasurer balances to the penny. And then, so it's the banking side, it's the cash, I should say, not the book, but the cash. And all those checks and balances are in place to keep everybody from coming up. So that's about all I have. If you have a question that I can answer, I'm happy to try.
I'm just curious.
Sure.
Anderson's kind of backward as far as bridges over railroad tracks, especially Scatterfield in the city and Rangeline in the county. Who's responsible for, I don't know, probably the state.
Railroad tracks or bridges?
Oh, the bridges.
The county commissioner is responsible for the bridges in the county.
Okay.
Railroad tracks.
The railroad tracks, I wouldn't worry about it, we just get bridges over it.
Oh, over the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
I went over one, I think it was at Jackson, just south of 14th Street, this morning or yesterday. Horrible, horrible. I'm in a big old truck and I thought it was gonna fall in somehow. I mean, it was horrible, but.
So I'm not worried about the tracks, but I'm worried about the traffic going over, having, blocks and everything, you know, for several blocks. And most cities of this size have done away with that.
You're talking about bridges to go over the railroads, so you don't get roads from the railroads.
Because that would also, entice people to live here, or move here, because they don't have to put up with it.
Yeah. I don't think the county, I'm just gonna be honest with you, is gonna be building bridges over the railroads anytime soon. But out in the county over the waterways, the county commissioner is responsible for those. Matter of fact, the one on Rangeline Road, at what used to be I call it junkyards back in the day. Auto parts, they call them auto parts, the junkyard where you go get the starter off, down on the Rangeline, it's getting ready to be replaced in April.
Right.
I didn't think that bridge was all that bad, but some stuff on the underneath the structure. Yeah.
Well, that's good to do, but I still think we ought to, so that you have move forward traffic, especially
Yeah.
for vehicles.
On Scatterfield Road, excellent idea.
And I think since we don't know what's going on in the county otherwise, maybe we could consider Rangeline.
You know, they're doing a study on Scatterfield Road right now, because I got an enormous complaint with 38. They're not going to cause of this, but they're tired of hearing about it on 38 and Scatterfield Road. That is the most ridiculous intersection I've ever seen in my life. And I've shared that twice.
Yes, it is.
I shared that with, we had a road safety meeting with people from the state one day, and I brought it up. Then Council of Governments brought it up several times for me. And then I brought it up at a Council of Governments meeting because I'm a board member there. And the state was on the Zoom meeting. And one of them said, we take into consideration public safety and all that, at intersections. And I said, oh, I have a problem with that statement. Not at 38th and Scatterfield Road in Anderson, you know? Well, it is ridiculous. I've been almost hit head on twice. People coming out of Speedway now, going left and heading west. My wife's met somebody heading there. I almost got sideswiped yesterday. I live on 38. I'm just a few houses away. I'm turning left into my driveway, and it's only one lane there, and I'm turning left. Got the signal on, I'm over here, there's a buffer lane here, all X'd out with yellow. And I had a guy start around me on the left, and I'm turning left. So anyway, I don't know how I got on that. It's a sore spot with me, that intersection. So, yes, sir.
Hey, Rick, couple things, I agree with you on 38th Street, 53rd Street there at Arby's is just as bad as engineering.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. And here's my complaint to the state. What you have done to us, the people who live on 38th Street, at least those that are close to Scatterfield Road, you made us part of Speedway's business. I didn't sign on to that. I didn't sell any access to Speedway on Valentine's Day. I just happened to know that I'm sitting at home and between 7 and 7:15, 6 cars turned around my driveway. Yeah, I bet you I haven't had 6 people turn around my driveway in 24 years. But it's every day, all day long. Matter of fact, one day, my grandkids are out in the driveway playing. Now, we're 150 feet off the road. And a car comes up the driveway, and they're turning around. My grandkids have to get out of the way, 30 feet from the house, 120 feet from the road. They're playing ball or whatever they're doing there. They had to get out of the way because somebody's coming back there and turn around. I got a problem with that.
The main thing is, as treasurer, are there any programs you definitely want to continue, that you would like to do away with, or that you would like to implement that are not already implemented if you get elected treasurer?
Dan has been an exceptional treasurer. Exceptional. I will follow through with what Dan is doing, and no different than I did in the auditor's office. I try to find an opportunity. You try to move the bar up just a little bit. Ever done the same thing in the county auditor's office? There were good people in that office before I got there. You will not find an employee in that office or anyone that will ever tell you that I badmouthed the previous auditor, because that did not happen. What I said was, here we're at, you don't know where they came from before they got there. You know, they started with this kind of software, now we're up to this kind of software, and what can I do to get it here? And badmouthing someone else does not get you there. Only these